Today I'm running the pre-sales team for mobility, for solution engineering. And essentially we go out and meet with customers like you every single day. We gather those requirements in terms of what you're looking to do. And then we come back and demo the solution, quite frankly. And the solution should meet or exceed your expectations in terms of what you're trying to do. That's what I do today. I could tell you all of this stuff about, I've been developing mobile apps for quite some time. I've had some successes in iTunes, Google Play, etc. I love mobility more than you will ever comprehend. I love it to a fault, a big fault. I love it, what it does for me from a personal perspective in terms of FaceTiming with my kids, FaceTiming with my wife, socializing, staying in contact, all of that stuff. I love it as much, maybe even a little bit more, for what it does for me day to day in my professional life, making things easier for me, being able to do things where I would typically have to be at a desktop, approving purchase orders, approving vacation requests, all of that stuff. Here's, my wife and I, we celebrated our anniversary, and I love it so much. She always tells me that I love these things, devices, and I've got them all, more than I love her. At times, that's true. This was my present for my birthday this year. She sent me to, and all I'm trying to do is just tell you how much I love this and the positive impact it has, but she sent me to this digital detox retreat. No devices allowed. That was a huge problem for me. I suffered through it, but nonetheless, the point is I love this stuff. To the detriment of too much. Don't love it that much, but love it. And the reason why you need to love this is because every single stat, every single point of data that you're going to look at is going to conclusively show you that mobility is here to stay and its growth is going to be like this. The desktop is not really the PCs too much anymore. The desktop is going to be this thing. It's going to be a BlackBerry. It's going to be the myriad of tablets that we have available. That's where business is going to conduct. It's innovation, and you've got to, in order to stay ahead of your competitors, you have to innovate. And you have to be thinking about it now if you're not already, and you have to continue thinking about it. It's just the paradigm that we're in. By a show of hands, who is thinking about mobility? Who has mobility in terms of mobilizing business processes? Okay, about a third-ish. That's good. Why did SAP, and I'll give you a little bit of history in terms of how we got here, because we just didn't build everything right out of the gate. Mentioned earlier, we purchased Sybase about 3.5 years ago now. Sybase was in the business of basically taking data and moving it from point A to point B, sometimes not across wires, most of the time in a wireless world. It's what they do. It's their expertise. And it's things really that we don't see. It's intellectual stuff that they've built. They have a platform that does many things, and I'll talk about this momentarily. They have a platform that secures things, devices, and I'll talk about that momentarily. That got us into the market quickly. We had to. As a solution provider to many businesses such as yourselves, we had to offer our customers a way to mobilize your business process, and we've done that. Since the 3.5 years, we've matured. Frankly, we've stepped on our feet as we entered it because it is so new and it's so dynamic. We're in a really good spot. This year, 2012, I think we solved some of our own internal things. The product has matured. In 2013, I can guarantee you today, I'm not supposed to say guarantee, but I'm going to say it. I can guarantee you today that it's going to be even better. There's no doubt about it. So we had to innovate. And there's a company here that did not innovate that sat right around here at $78 billion in revenue. They were there 4 years ago, and they're not even on the top 21 here. Who might you think is that company that failed to innovate as quickly as needed in this mobile environment that we're all in? RIM, Research in Motion. So 3 years ago, they were here. They're not even here anymore. They kind of missed the boat, and that boat was being captained by all of us here. From a personal perspective, we wanted to use these devices that were perpetuated, kick-started by Apple, for sure. We wanted to use them in our personal lives and at business. They focused on business, and it's a great product. I'm not here to bash RIM by any means, because you won't find another proponent for what's coming up for RIM. Is it going to survive? I don't know, but it's a good product. Nonetheless, the consumers drove all of this demand into their enterprises and said, I want to use this to take pictures. I want to use it to check email. I want to approve POs, et cetera, et cetera. That failed to happen, okay? That's my point. You need to innovate, and these things are going to be here for quite some time and proliferating day by day. The growth, the iPods changed the industry for sure in terms of a device that the consumers adopted and then wanted to push into the enterprise. iPod, green, that's significant growth. iPhones in orange, even more significant growth. And then lastly, the blue area is the iPads. Monumental growth, bar none. It has completely overshadowed the growth that the iPod and the iPhone made. And now with the adoption of the miniaturized version of the iPad, it's growing even more rapidly across many feature sets. Android, the other operating system that really has a significant amount of market share. Even more rapid growth than the iPhone. And as all of you think about mobility and how to bring this into your enterprise if it's not there already, you have all of these things to consider. Let Bramasol consider these things because it is very challenging. Android, as a matter of fact, has over 2,000 permutations of it. And it's because Google says, here's the operating system to Samsung, to Motorola, to HTC. Go ahead and just use it, build your phones and sell them. Samsung and those others, they take it and they add their own little flavors to it. And that becomes a version of Android that as IT professionals, as enterprises that we need to support from a functionality perspective, a security perspective, et cetera. So it just exponentially increases all of that stuff we have to think about. You need the right solution, the right persons, the right partners to help you get through all of that. Prior to all of that, similar to what was just said, you have to figure out who in your enterprises are your stakeholders to get this mobility initiative out there. It's going to be things like legal. If you're going to allow a personal device to touch your network, there's some considerations that you have to take there. It's definitely going to include human resources. It's going to include IT. So you have to develop that team, develop your enterprise strategy, and then slowly step into it. I'm not here to say by any means that anyone should just go all in and just mobilize everything. That's not the case. We'll talk about this in greater detail, but if you mobilize something and your end users don't like it, it's tough, you've completely missed the boat because that turns into viral activity that says, SAP launched this PO app internally. It doesn't work, and nothing is worse than viral negativity in a mobile environment. You want to think about the apps that you're going to mobilize, the business processes. You want to think about the user experience so that virally they love it and it perpetuates. It goes quick. You'll immediately see the efficiency gains. I digress. Tablets, 2 years ago, 2% of adults owned tablets. 3 years later, today, 29%. The growth is there, it's the writing on the wall, and it's all of that data that I've talked about that conclusively says that devices and mobility in general is here to stay and is growing. A massive convergence in things that are accessing the internet. And this speaks volumes to me because this says, blue, desktop, the number of desktop computers, including laptops, is decreasing that are accessing the internet. Devices, mobile devices, orange. We're at an inflection point, a convergence between which one's going to go up. Obviously, I think this path is going to go up, and the blue path is going to go down and probably level off. There's no doubt about it. That being said, this is the device, not this literally, but mobility in general is where a lot of business is going to take place. And that business is internal to your business processes. It could be to your customers so that they can facilitate easier sales, transactions, et cetera. SAP, we believe, and this again speaks volumes to me, we believe that the number of things, and things can be anything, It could be his camera. It could be that clock. Things that are attached to the internet and talking to one another is going to increase. 50 billion against a population of X. That there's going to be more things on the internet than there are people in the world touching the internet. That being said, as you think about your mobile strategy, it's not so much, here's a device. It's, I have these pieces of hardware, some infrared devices in your facilities. Those things can help you become faster, stronger, more efficient in terms of your business processes. And that's part of the mobile strategy that's growing like crazy too. Machine to machine, in addition to person to machine, person to person. There's these permutations here that just are going to, it's going to give you exponential growth opportunities in terms of these business processes. As we think about it, the machines that are out there, they're going to be connected to the internet. And you have to have some mechanisms to manage what's on those machines. In terms of applications, you have to be able to manage the security of those machines. So if we think things are connected, we're going to be at a point, and we actually are beta testing this in our labs today, and this is not far off. An accident on your driving route is causing a delay, whatever the amount is. Your alarm clock is notified so that you can wake up earlier and plan accordingly to get to your particular meetings in time. Your car, which absolutely today, there's 3 in the parking lot that I can see that are connected to the internet right now. Your car knows the gas tank is here, not quite enough to get you where you need to go, which is connected to your calendar. And that also affects the alarm clock. All of these variables factored in, you're not going to make your meeting on time. Your schedule, your office is notified to let them know that you might be a little bit late, move appointments, that sort of thing. Your car should start, for you Canadian folks up there in the back, your car should start 15 minutes earlier to defrost and do all of that stuff. And then lastly, I can't function without coffee, so your coffee maker should, which is also connected to the internet, start as well. So it sounds like a really neat, futuristic type of thing that you would see in movies. Again, not far around the corner. And you may not have a coffee maker as part of your wheelhouse in terms of what you do as a business day to day, but this could easily be a device that's in your plant, monitoring things that are being developed in your product lifecycle process. So our vision, again, thinking about the things that are going to be connected, smart homes, no doubt about it. Some of your air conditioning controls today are connected to the internet. That's going crazy. Refrigerators, we mentioned the alarm clocks. They're all connected today. Smart vending, whatever type of machine that is, doesn't have to be Pepsi or Coke, that vending should be connected and is today. And it lets that person in the field know that the inventory is low to restock it. Faster business process, smart logistics, what's in that truck? And when is it going to get to where it should be? Automobiles, we just mentioned, about half, maybe a little less, are connected today in terms of if you buy today, and that's just going to grow and grow and grow. Smart equipment and cities in terms of where is power being consumed if you're a utility, how do you address power outages, and even for the consumers to reach back into that utility to notify them that there's a power outage for faster turnarounds. All of this stuff requires these here. A lot of which is, it's the reason you're here today. Mobility, big data, how do you take large sets of data and quickly consume it and analyze it and sometimes even predict what's going to happen via cloud services to lower your infrastructure costs, et cetera. And social, there's a lot of chatter on Facebook before we even know there's a problem. It's one of the fastest mechanisms for news to proliferate. So if you can aggregate that data from a social mechanism, you're going to be able to respond much quicker. So all of this goes hand in hand in terms of your strategy for moving your businesses forward in a better way than your competitors might be doing. There's some terminology here I just want to make sure that we're all clear on. As you think about mobility and your business and how you want to use it, there's things like apps. We all kind of, I think, know what apps are. You download them and you begin to use them, and they're going to cause you a lot of fun if it's Angry Birds. They're going to cause you a lot of increased efficiency if it's something that you built and gave to your employees. More sales if it's a customer-facing app. There is MDM, mobile device management. And that is, as an enterprise, when your data is on a device, whether it's with one of your partners or even your employees, you've got to secure that data. You do not want it in the wrong hands. And you at times have to be able to remove data. And you have to push a new application out to the device. MDM, mobile device management. So historically in mobility, MDM has been ranked by Gartner and others, and it said, you know, MDM, here's the top right quadrant, here are the players, and there's always 1, 2 that are consistently there, and there's a lot of new ones that just come up and fall by the wayside. Well, Gartner, I think rightfully so, said there's a better way, there's a better way to think about this. It's really managing your mobile enterprise management, MEM. And it's apps, it's security, it's platform, making sure your apps work. And they looked at it holistically, and if you note here, you have SAP, Antenna, and Cyclo of the top right quadrant. 2 of those are essentially SAP, because if you have not heard, SAP purchased Cyclo not too long ago this year. And that brought with us immense capabilities in the field service space, enterprise asset management, work management, service management, inventory management, et cetera. So 2/3 of the top right quadrant as it relates to mobile enterprise management is with SAP. All of that being said, says this. If you look at our portfolio of mobility solutions, this looks like a bunch of squares to you, but it's much more than that. This is our platform, SAP Mobile Platform, SMP. With this, or components of it, there isn't, I would challenge you, there isn't one mobile idea that you have as a business. If you approached Bramasol or SAP and said, Bill, I'm thinking about mobilizing this. With all or components of this, every single time you ask those questions, the answer is going to be yes. And I mean that literally. There isn't one thing that you can think of that we haven't addressed. This is a hugely comprehensive mobility platform. And much like ECC or SAP's core ERP, you can take components of it. I just need HCM, I just need FICO, I just need PLM, you know, all of these things. This is not an all or nothing bet. If you want to build apps, you don't need all of that. And I'll talk about this in greater detail. You need a component of it. If you want to secure your existing base of mobile users within your enterprise, take a little component over here. So there are several things that you as an enterprise are going to want to do. You might want to build B2E apps. This is business to employee. You're going to build apps or maybe even purchase them right off the shelf, off iTunes, Google, et cetera, and put them in the hands of your end users. And in theory, they should be able to be more productive. Or you should see some efficiency gain. You should see more sales, et cetera. You might build a B2C app. This is you building an app, pushing it to iTunes, Google's App Store, BlackBerry's, now Microsoft's, and saying, here's an app, Mr. or Mrs. Consumer. Please use it. And again, in theory, you'll see a spike in whatever that is that app is trying to take care of. This platform handles that through and through again. The platform, as we talk about things that the enterprise is going to do, SAP's mobility platform will allow you, number one, if you want, you can create apps yourselves all day long. And the beautiful thing about SMP, the mobility platform, it's totally different than when you're having the conversations about ERP. It's agnostic to the back end. This stuff doesn't care if you're going to build an app where you might have JDE, where you want to connect to some Microsoft database, an Oracle database, some web service. It's totally agnostic. So the conversations aren't like, well, you have to have this, this, and this, and this. If you want to mobilize something, this doesn't care what it is you're trying to access to mobilize. It's totally agnostic, and that's a great thing. And it will always be that way. Let's see, platform. When you want to build the apps, it does that. When you want to buy apps, because SAP today has many apps in iTunes, Google Play, et cetera, those stores, you can buy a approved purchase order app. Deploy it. This will accommodate the functionality, the connection from that app to your backend data source. This will also, as we talked about, secure the device and the data on the device. Hugely important and a great starting point and a very common starting point amongst customers such as yourselves. Start with MDM or security and go from there. This will do more than that. One of the most beautiful things about the SAP Mobility Platform is what you don't see. And this goes back to the Sybase purchase. Sybase has been in mobility, and it's about getting data from point A to point B in a wireless world. And there's lots of things that need to be cognizant of that they've thought of and been doing for 18 years. When I say the things that are valuable that you don't see, it's things like I'm accessing, let me go back a slide. I'm accessing via my app something on the back end. If the data on this device is not synced with that back end, you're going to have problems. If the data on device is not cached, which means I'm not connected to the internet, but then there's going to be a point where I am connected again, the platform needs to have those factors factored in, otherwise you're going to have problems. There's tons of things below the proverbial iceberg that this platform does, and it offloads all of that stuff that you might have to think about or develop from scratch. And that's by way of Sybase and what they've been doing for 18 years. It's the hard stuff. We expose to the enterprise, not easy, I'm not going to say that, but the stuff that you really need to focus on to be successful in mobility. And it's really around the user experience. Again, as we talked about, if it has a good user experience, you're going to get good viral activity. You're going to see the apps actually being used. In SAP, we have 17,000 iOS devices. We still have 5,000 BlackBerry devices. And we've gone through this for the past 3 years, and we've seen what not to do and what to do. Some things in terms of the what not to do, just push an app out there for pushing an app out there's sake. If it does not get used, there's no one faster to get news out than our sales organization that says this app stinks, okay? So we have now procedures in place to validate the app, kick the tires, and make sure that it's going to have value and it's, most importantly, easy to use from the intended audience's perspective. And without that, you're going to be stepping on your own feet, and you do not want the negative viral activity at this conversation. So it's got to be easy for the end users. Now, the platform underneath it all, I won't go into great detail, but Sybase, for the past number of years, has been basically processing billions and billions of text messages. As I send a text from my device to my aunt who's on another service, I'm on Verizon, she's on AT&T, it goes through a Sybase messaging server. So billions and billions of messages per week are processed by this infrastructure. This infrastructure is now in place and included within the the SAP Mobility Platform. And that means now that you can reach out to your customers and do some really engaging things, such as coupons, such as frequent buyer programs, e-commerce, payment card top-ups, transactions via scanning, such as what we're doing at Starbucks. That infrastructure, if you had to build today, is not something that you want to do from scratch. And that has been baked and baked and baked for 15 years, baked and baked and baked for 15 years, and is growing daily. This is an environment also that, these darn devices, they change so often. There's so many tablets, and there's updates to not only the operating system, but the physical form factor, screen sizes, and all of that stuff. Let your platform, which is really the foundation of what you're going to do and mobilize, manage that stuff for you. It's our job as a company to make sure that the platform accommodates the new Win 8 tablets that just came out last week. It's our job to make sure that if BlackBerry launches their 10 operating system or BlackBerry 10 device in January, that we can support that too. that offloads that from your responsibilities, and we do that. Our things that we update are updated weekly. We have to push stuff to Apple and Google and Microsoft and BlackBerry often. We always have to be on top of that. And another thing too, as SAP, we're fortunate enough to have amazing partnerships with the people who are making this stuff. Apple, we're there with them, they're a customer, and it's mutual. So we're there when they're designing this, and we have access to the chipsets and input. Samsung, Motorola, HTC, we're there when the things are going across literally the assembly lines, and we're saying, you know what? From an MDM or security perspective, can you just do this so that we can secure this? And so with Samsung, we are able to do things that some competitors are not. That's because of the relationships we have with these strategic partners. So you have non-intensive processes that you want to mobilize. You have some intensive processes that you want to mobilize. How do you accommodate for things like speed? Because speed is another one of those things. If it's not physically easy to use, that's bad. If it's not fast, if it doesn't do what I wanted it to do fast, that's another problem. Again, downward spike in usability. So the platform, and as we talk about all of that intellectual stuff, the stuff that we don't see that's been built by Sybase, things like wireless data optimization. There's a right way to send data from this device ultimately to an SAP backend or whatever backend, and there's a not so right way. That is built into it. Massive data optimization via wireless digital signals. Things like data caching, making sure the device here is synced in real time with your backend database. Data caching also accommodates, I'm going to work in an online state versus I'm going to work in an offline state, and then how does the data marry together once the online connection is reestablished. So those are the things that are accommodated by a platform. To further elaborate, yes, you can build an app for a mobile device, push it to a browser. Your end users can log into Safari or whatever the browser is on device and use that app. But it's very challenging to do the stuff that you're talking about, to get quick speeds, to get easy user interface, UI experience, those sorts of things which are handled by a platform. Mobile device management, this is securing the device as it goes through the entire life cycle. As a device enters your organization, you're going to maybe even push email to it, some apps, all of these things to be productive. You got to manage it. And if someone is, we talked about hire to fire earlier, if someone leaves the organization, you do not want that data to leave with it. So you got to be able to pull your corporate data. So mobile device management, mobile apps management, and these are the things that you push out. Maybe in finance, you're going to push a certain group of applications versus engineering versus the field service. It's really managing the same stuff that our IT department does for desktops today. You got to be able to do via device. Content management. These are things like Word documents and all of that extraneous stuff that gets to these devices. It's being able to say, you know what, I'm going to email this document, but from this device, that document cannot leave the device. It can't go to that person's personal address. It can't be forwarded. So it's all of that. It's all around security, Internet of Things, devices. It's more than just tablets and phones and that sort of thing. It's cameras. It's everything that can be used, and you probably use today in your business, that is going to be connected, and you just have to be there to be able to support those types of connections, and then hopefully build processes around them to just increase what it's capable of doing today.